Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and I am back again judging more of your guys' cars. You guys keep sending the emails, I keep judging your cars and I'm loving it. So if you would like to submit your own car, down at the bottom there is an email address. Send pictures, video, and a little short story or any information you want to share about your car. I'll read it on another video in the future. Couple things to go with that. First of all, send it to that email and that email only. I've gotten a couple Instagram messages, a couple Facebook messages. Please refrain from doing that just because it keeps everything simple and centered and I'm not looking all over the place when it comes time to edit and review as well. So, number 2, if you are okay with me reviewing your car, that would mean me coming to you, driving your car, and your car having its own dedicated review here on the channel. You can see all my other car reviews on the Shooting Cars YouTube channel. It would get its own version of that. If you're okay with that, no matter where your location is, please say in the video, I would love for you to come out and do the review. Any way you want to word it, just say, hey, I'm okay with you doing a review. Here's my location, because I have a notebook and I write down everyone's location and email address in that. So if I'm ever in that part of the country, let's say Nebraska, let's say Idaho, or even abroad, I've gotten requests from Germany, Denmark, England, all that stuff. If I'm ever in that area, I will definitely let you know, and we can set something up. Third thing, if your car is not in this video, but you have already sent me an email, don't worry, it's going to be in a future video. I've gotten a couple comments saying, oh, I'd like to see my car, or oh, you didn't pick my car. The only reason I wouldn't show a car in this video is if it was clearly not your car or a repeat. But with that out of the way, let's get into it. So the first one is from Luca, his 1997 540i. He said, hey, it's Luca. I saw that you're doing some car reviews, and if you'd want, I'd be more than happy to let you review the 540i I have. It's a 6-speed manual, 4.4-liter V8. Over the past year, I've owned it. It's gotten custom BC extreme lows. I've fully rebuilt the front suspension, and I just had to rewire my O2s last week because they scraped through the harness. So Luca, yes, he's actually a friend of mine. I saw this car when he first got it. I love 540i's. I think they are a great car. The V8 is definitely something, it packs a good amount of punch, especially now that, 97, that's my age, it's 22, 23 years old. I think, they're coming down in price and such that this is a really good car to pick up. And I love the fact, I love manual 540s. I think they're absolutely great. I actually did have the pleasure of reviewing one not too long ago. So thank you, Luca, for that. Next up is from Dylan. He says, hey, my name is Dylan, and I have a 1990 G20 sport van I bought 2 years ago as of April 10th. So here's the story behind it. It's a 1990 Chevy G20 sport van, 5-liter 305 V8, throttle body injection, 700 R4 automatic transmission. It seems here he wrote a whole long paragraph. It's a really cool story. Him and his girlfriend at the time, they wanted to build a camper van, and so they just kind of went for it. Unfortunately, it was in an accident. He says here, repaired it himself and is still working on the conversion. Currently, the van is spray painted in a million different colors because of the new panels and bodywork. And he goes on to say that he's cool with me reviewing it. So hopefully, if I'm ever out in your area, Dylan, I would love to come out and film the van. What's really cool about this is I love the fact that you wanted to build a camper, and so you went out and bought something to build the camper into. I know a lot of people, pretty much anyone I've ever met or talked to has ever said like, oh, I would love to have a camper van, or I'd love to have a conversion van, or I'd love to have, an RV, something like that. And I think a lot of people talk the talk, but I'm glad that you are walking the walk. I'm sure this is a lumpy, throaty, slow chugging V8. It's a really old style. The 305s are an old style, I'm sorry, V8. It's just like blah, blah, you'll hear it way before you see it come over the horizon. But I think this is really cool, and I can't wait to see your progress, and I'm glad that you're doing it all yourself. That is really cool. Next up is from Chris. He says, hi, Zach. Here's a picture of my NSX for your video. I was actually just talking about this car literally last night. This is a 1998 Acura Nsx that I actually reviewed. I do have a channel, or I have a review of this on my channel. All I could say is wow. Of the 90s JDM cars, or Japanese, you know, this was a USDM car, but of the Japanese 90s cars I've driven, besides an FD, this is the one that I would take home. It's so smooth, it's powerful, it's iconic. The target top is just a masterpiece. It's so good. The original NSX is so good. It's not super powerful. You won't blow the doors off modern cars, but man, is it just a great driving experience. You have the V6. This one was the 3.2 liter right behind your ear. I absolutely love this. And I know it sounds like I say I love a lot of these cars that come in through here, but really the NSX, the original NSX, and this is the slightly towards the later end of the original NSX, still has the pop-ups, but it has the nicer 3.2 liter, and it has the target top. It's like, this car was like the perfect spec. I know I'm talking too much about this car, but I really think this is one of the top 10 cars that I've ever driven so far. And I've reviewed 350 some odd cars and driven, I think, 440 some cars. And this is definitely top 10 era. This is God tier. So thank you, Chris, not only for letting me review the car last year, 2 years ago. Wow, 2 years ago. But thank you for the submission. So this next one is from Colton, who I was actually talking to on Facebook right before filming this video. So Colton has two cars. He has a white Turbo 2 FC RX-7 and a CYM yellow FD RX-7. The FD I have driven. I do have a video of that up on my channel. I have driven the FD, and this car, he bought it with 4,000 miles on it, which is extremely low. This car is beautiful. It is immaculate. Colton does an amazing job keeping these cars just looking great. He's been working a lot on the FC. These two cars will be together in a video in the future. I want to do essentially an initial D review, because these are the Rotary Brother cars. They're not right-hand drive, but these are the cars. And so these two, Colton is the type of guy that he will clean every nut and washer on a car. And while I would pull my hair out doing that, I'm really glad that he does that. So thank you, Colton, for the submission. Next up is from Nick, and all he has is 9 pictures here of an E36 M3. No story, no backstory, or nothing like that. I have to say, I really do like the E36 M3s. Unfortunately, I haven't actually reviewed one on the channel. I drove one, and it was at Sunset. Beautiful car, great car. It was up in Michigan. I drove it at sunset, and I'm like, tomorrow morning I'm going to come out and film it. And it just didn't work out. You know, life got in the way, unfortunately. And so I wasn't actually able to film an M3 E36. But I really, really do love these cars. They're just under the E46 in my mind. I do like the E46 better. But they're right up there. They're definitely right up there. And for the 90s, it's one heck of a car. I really like what he's done to it. I like the wheels. It is very low. I would not go that low, personally. But I've definitely seen this car around. And some of these pictures, Yam Media, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I know he's local, and would love to get together with him as well when all this virus passes. But really, really clean looking car. My biggest pet peeve with E36s is that they always seem to have rake, which is where the rear end is higher than the front end. And he has like the opposite of it. That rear wheel is really tucked. So thank you, Nick, for that. Next up is from Jacob, and he sent a single picture of his GMC, I assume Sierra from the late 90s-ish. Definitely looks like earlier than the 2003 that I reviewed. So definitely, I'm assuming 96 to 99, I would assume. Maybe 98, something like that. Looks really, really clean. I like the color. Definitely a very, very 90s color, but I like it. It's a clean, simple truck. And I don't know really too much else about these trucks, unfortunately. But up next, we do have Jackson. He said, hey, it's Jackson. Thankfully, I sold the S10, which I reviewed, if you saw the S10 review on my channel, and sold the Subaru as well. He had a Subaru Loyale. A while back, I had purchased a truck very cheap, has 126,000 miles and very minimal rust. I remember on one of your live streams, I mentioned that I was going to look at this truck, and you said watch out for the instrument cluster. Well, weeks after I had purchased it, the tach stopped working. Since I purchased it, the only mods I've done are wheels and tires, a slightly built 4L60E with big external cooler, and a fully redone stereo system. In the future, I'd like to do an exhaust leveling kit, new bumpers, and probably a paint job. The truck is nothing special, but is a great daily driver and off-road rig, as you can tell. So I really do like these generations of Silverados. I think it's kind of burned into my psyche, just because one of my really good friends growing up had one of these, and so I had a Dodge Ram, he had a Chevy Silverado. I think this actually the same year. And so we would always butt heads about it and go back and forth and blah, blah, blah. So I think this truck in particular is kind of burned into my mind. I like them. I definitely do like them. It's just they do have bad instrument cluster issues. I remember his went out, and we were in high school and we tried to act cool. I took a video of it because the speedometer was maxed all the way out. I think we were doing like 30 or 40. We were just on a regular street. But the speedo had it almost like jumped teeth. So like it would start at like 60. So like going 15 miles an hour was like 75, something like that. So yeah, they do have bad instrument cluster issues, unfortunately. But I like it. And it's a truck. And if you could find these clean, I'm all about it. I'm all about finding the good, clean truck. Next up is from Dean. He said, here's my car. It's a 1992 Sunburst Yellow Miata with 172,000 kilometers on it. I bought it 2 weeks ago and brought it home on a trailer on Easter weekend. This car definitely needs some TLC, but seems complete, relatively rust-free and unmodified. This is my first project car, even though I'm 46 years old, and I don't have much experience working on cars. The most I've done to date is oil changes and wheel rotations, but it's never too late to start learning. If you're ever in his area and want to drive it for a review, that would be great. So, I always say Starburst. It's Sunburst Yellow Miatas, 1992. I believe some 500-ish were made. Don't quote me on that. Very low production number for this color. So seeing an actual rust-free car like this, very, very nice. And, you say that you're kind of late to the party of getting a project car at 46. You got the perfect one. Miatas are plentiful of parts. They're simple enough to work on and still simple enough to, enjoy. The more love you pour into the car, the more love the car will give back to you. So thank you for that submission. This one is from Harley. It says, hey Zach, greetings from the UK. Thought I would send a few pictures of my 1989 Nissan Micra / March. It is a very small and slow car. It is fitted with a 988cc engine, so just under 1 liter. This is my first car. I've owned it for a year and a half. It's painted a non-standard color of duck egg blue and is lowered on coilovers with 13-inch wheels. Also has a straight pipe. Impressively, it does feature a heater and a radio, which for a base model car is amazing. As well as with 1980s Nissans, it is fitted as standard with rust. Sorry if this email is awful. I've never done anything like this before. Anyway, thanks for taking a look. This is really cool because, again, this is just something that I've never seen and we just never got here. I was arguing with some friends the other day that I can't think of a U.S. car we've gotten that's under a liter. The only cars I've seen that are under a liter is like the AutoZam AZ1, Honda Beat, and the Honda Acti, which those, obviously, we didn't get here. Those are imported. So really cool to see this, and I think it's really well done. I love the color. Really dig the color. In almost all these pictures, it looks like a different color, and I absolutely love that. It almost looks like a first-gen GTI or something like that. Not the back, but the front a little bit. And if I can see properly, it looks like it has plaid seats, which I am a sucker for plaid seats. I don't know if I've ever driven a car with them, but I love the look of them. I really, really do. So thank you, Harley, for that. I really enjoy the Micra. This one is from David. He said, hi, my name is David. This is my 1992 Toyota Tercel. It is my first car. It has an inline 4-cylinder and a 5-speed manual transmission. It was primer black when I got it, so I decided to paint it. The colors were supposed to be a joke, but I liked it, so I left it alone. The car has around 160,000 miles on it. It has an aftermarket stereo with a single 15-inch subwoofer, and he leaves his location for a review, so maybe you'll see this in a future video. I know nothing about Tercels. I know that they were pretty much used, abused, and thrown away. So again, I would be interested to drive one of these because I don't think we're going to have these cars around in 10 to 15 years. The colors are a bit much for me. I personally would not have stuck with that, but I know how annoying primer black is, so I can't say I blame you. So thank you for your submission of the Tercel. This one is from my good friend Nick. He said, Zach, I sold this car several weeks ago, but you've reviewed both my 3 Series, so I figured I'd send the one car I've owned which you have not driven. Now I'm mad. I'm mad about this. I'll explain in a second. It's a 1985 Renault Alliance L convertible built by AMC in Wisconsin. I bought it from a friend of mine for $200 cash last year. Some friends and I were planning on building a Lemons car out of it, but we never had the time or money. Luckily, when the head gasket on the E30 blew in February of last year, I was able to throw temp plates on it and daily it for about a month while doing repairs. Only money I put into it was for fuel, liability insurance, and some oil to top it off before I sold it. It's easily the worst car I've ever driven, but I think I got more compliments and rubbernecks on it in 1 month than I ever did in the E30 or E46 combined. Hope you like it, and I hope you're doing well. First of all, Nick, I hope you're doing well too. I hope school is going well. I believe you graduated, if Felix told me. So huge props to you for that. That is amazing, and I know a lot of people that have not made it through your program. I mean, so he's in a very hard program out in Colorado. Now I'm mad though, because this, out of all of the cars I've gotten, this is near the top of a car I would want to review. First of all, I did not know that Renaults were even sold in the US. I thought that these were only overseas. Second of all, a Renault Alliance, never heard of it. A Renault Alliance convertible, never heard of it. And it was made here in Wisconsin? A car I've never heard of was made an hour and a half north of me? As a car enthusiast, that makes me mad. And so I wish I could have driven this car. I know you're several states over, and the logistics of that probably wouldn't have even worked out anyway. But this is just so cool, so different, so unique. And I'm mad that you can hold it over my head that you've driven a Renault, and I have not. Because that's just, to me, that's so cool. You've driven something that most people haven't driven, most people don't drive, and probably will never ever really see again, because as you said, if it's as horrible as you said, these cars aren't going to stick around for much longer, let alone, I can't believe one has stuck around since 85. So super, super cool. I wish I could have driven this, but I understand the situation. Nick, if you buy new cool stuff, text me. I miss your late night emails of rotary stuff that you find. This one is from Taiwan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he says, this is my 1985 Chevrolet Impala with a 305 small block V8. It's been in the family for about 9 years and is going to me in June, and that there are more pictures on his Instagram. So, never driven something like this. I love the square body, old Chevy Impalas. I like that. And again, like I said at the top of the video, throaty V8. Probably real slow, but probably pretty mean at the gas pump. So I'd love to hear more about this. You know, if it was a family member's car or if it's always been a project car or something like that. This one is from Parker. He said, hey, Zach, I sent you an email about 2 weeks ago of my RX-7. That was in the last video. He said, this time I'll send you pictures of my other 2 cars. He said, first is my 96 Thunderbird with a 4.6 liter V8, so it's basically a Mustang. Also, the second vehicle, I don't know if it would fit your channel or not, but it is a 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Has a 4.5-inch lift on Fox Racing 2.0 shocks. The Thunderbird is my girlfriend Zoe's car. So, Parker and Zoe, thank you for that. First, let's talk about the Jeep. I like these Jeeps. I reviewed one not too long ago. It's hard finding one of these in good condition. I drove one that was not on its last legs by any means, but it definitely wasn't stock. It was lifted, you know, and it had been messed with, and it kind of dog-tracked a little bit. So I don't have a clear image, but I like what you've done. I like the lift. I think it's decently clean. Front fender could use some work, but it's decently clean. Can't complain too much. Now, the Thunderbird. This is interesting. This is very interesting. I drove a Lincoln Mark 8 and I've driven a Mercury XR7. So I've driven cousins, brothers of this car, but I've never driven one of these. These are super interesting to me because I feel like Ford at the time was just kind of churning out weird stuff. and they kind of fell into the cracks, and you know, they don't get the fame or recognition that the Mustang does, or the Fiesta, or the Focus. I feel like, you know, I wish Ford would still do stuff like this, make coupes with big V8s that weren't the Mustang, that were offshoots of the Mustang. And I know the Mustang in the 90s was kind of dwindling, so I guess they were trying to make other cars that would fill its spot, and eventually the Mustang picked back up. But this car is very, very interesting to me, and I like it. From the picture, it looks very clean. And so obviously to me, a clean car is a good car. So thank you, Parker and Zoe, for that. This one is from Colin. He says, hello, I saw your video, and if you're ever in my area, we have a few cool cars. I am 16, and I have a 1999 Mark III Jetta TDI. I got it for free, not running, if that explains the shape it's in. It's lowered on coilovers, smoked lights, and is my project car for the time being. My dad has a 2010 Subaru Forester XT, making 400 horsepower with a Cobb tune and some other bolt-ons. We also have a 1973 Volkswagen Bus, Westfalia, and I ran out of space for photos, but we also have a 2008 RX-8, 1971 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia, 1978 Corvette Stingray, and a 1979 Kawasaki KZ1000 drag bite. Wow. Lot to go through here with Colin. So first and foremost, let's talk about the Mark III Jetta. I have not driven anything from Volkswagen this old. I'd love to get my hands on a TDI, a diesel. I mean, these things really are tanks. These things are just absolutely really, really solid machines. From what I've heard, a lot of Volkswagen people tend to gravitate either towards these or towards VR6s. It's kind of two flavors of late 90s, early 2000s Volkswagen. So I really like this. I think it's great, and I'm glad that it's your project car. I'm glad that you've, you know, actually wrenched on it yourself. Next, you have the 2010 Subaru Forester XT making 400 horsepower. That's your dad's car. I assume it's his daily. That is absolutely awesome. Huge props to your old man. Sounds like a car guy, especially based on the next few vehicles. Really, really cool here. I don't like this gen of Forester usually, but when it's making 400 horsepower, I cannot complain. Then we have the Volkswagen Bus. I mean, I'll come out to Maryland to film this thing. I love buses. I've never been able to get my hands on one. And while this isn't like the classic one, you know, the 18 window or whatever, this is cool. This is still the bus. This is the camper. This is, I mean, there's just no other way of describing it. I will come out to Maryland and film this car. It's just, it seems, it's not in tip-top shape. It's not a showroom quality car, but it's patinaed, and I love that because that's what these were for. Volkswagen made these buses to camp in, to live out of, to travel in. And when you travel and live and you know, exist in a space so much, it's never kept 100% clean. You know, like, I love going to car museums, but sometimes it makes me sad because those cars don't ever see the road. This has seen the road. I'm sure it's been slept in. It's been driven hard. It's been in the rain. It's been in the snow, you know, everything like that. I love that about a car. Sorry, that's my rant. But also, you didn't include the pictures. 2008 RX-8, good. RX-8s aren't my favorite. I know it's a rotary. I still respect that. It's okay. Those engines are just annoying to work on. 1971 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia. Amazing car. I don't know what shape yours is in, but those are great. 1978 Corvette Stingray. Again, have never driven a Corvette that old. That's awesome. And I know nothing about drag bikes. I don't know if a Kawasaki KZ1000 is good or not. But, I mean, you have an amazing lineup. Do not take for granted the cars that you are growing up around. I think a lot of people in this comment section and YouTube alone would kill for the small collection that you can get your hands on. So just, if I could tell you anything, if I could only tell you two things. One would be, don't take it for granted. I mean, you are one lucky kid, and I want to review it. So I have saved your info and everything, and we'll be in contact. This one is from Adrian. He said, hi, I'm a fellow fan from Florida, and I bought my FB around the same time you did, and I've been watching your videos ever since. My FB didn't run when I first got it. I did a carb rebuild, changed the belts, and now it runs great. I also have some bodywork done. P.S. Good luck with the new FB. Included are some pictures of when I first bought it versus now. So first of all, thank you for the good luck wishes on my car. That's really cool that you've been following the channel since then. Two things about this FB. First of all, I love that you got it running. I love that you did the belts and stuff and it worked. A lot of times in my Instagram DMs, I get, hey, my car isn't running. Do you think like a belt would help? And I go, no, a full rebuild would help. But I'm glad you actually did a carb rebuild and it runs great. Second of all is normally I hate tire lettering. I think it's tacky. I think it's stupid. But I like the fact that you have two different colors and it looks professional. It doesn't look like an AutoZone stick, you know, what is it, lick and stick or whatever. Those actually look really solid, and I love those wheels. I would love to run those wheels on my car if I could find a set. I don't actually know exactly what wheels those are. They look like Enki 92s, I believe. Adrian, thank you for your submission. Next up is Maxwell. My name is Maxwell, and I am from Louisiana. I have a 1985 Toyota Celica GTS and what you can call a 1982 RX-7 FB. I bought the Celica a few years ago so it could be my daily, and just recently made it that. I have done the bodywork and painted it with my father. So far, the Celica has been running strong, and I'm about to replace the rear suspension. My plan for the RX-7 is to make it look like the Group C RX-7. If you ever come this far south, I'd be happy to let you review the car. So we'll start off easy with the FB. It looks like a long road ahead of you, but looking at the pictures of the Celica, it seems like you're no stranger to that. Getting back to the Celica, great restoration. I love the paint, love the bodywork. The car looks super clean. I would love to film something like this. I don't think you included it, but I feel like the interior would have, or would just be super 80s. It looks, the car itself looks super 80s. The pop-up headlights that don't pop up really above the hood, they just kind of open. I love that. I think overall it looks great. And I would definitely be down to drive this if I'm ever in the area. So thank you very much, Maxwell, for that. And I hope the FB goes well. This one is from Jacob. He said, we'll start with the RX-7. It's a 1985 RX-7, started life with a base model 12A and automatic transmission. Been there, done that. It now has a 13B and 5-speed manual transmission. Been there, done that. GSLC rear axle and front suspension and brakes. Currently has a Delroto, have not heard of that, 48 carb on it with a cobbled together intake. The FC 6-port lower and Racing Beat upper. I have a Racing Beat intake manifold on the way to support a Weber 48 IDF carb. Have heard of that. Has the typical Racing Beat exhaust that's just too quiet. Next is my 1996 GMC K1500. Completely rebuilt 350, cammed, ported, and milled heads, injectors, and a tune, but the Michigan winters have taken their toll. Too far gone at this point, but I'm moving to Florida soon, so my hope's to find a clean truck to swap parts over to. Anyway, you're more than welcome to review the RX-7 if you're ever interested, and this is my location. So, the RX-7, I mean, great story like mine. Automatic 12A, start out life as, and now it's a manual 13B. Interesting that you went carbed. If you can handle a carb, if you know how to work on a carb, if you know how to build carbs, by all means go carb. I prefer fuel injection because it just makes more sense to me. But your car looks decent. I like the color. I like that cream color. That would definitely be on my list of colors to own in an FB. The K1500, I really do like that as well. Now that you say that that's a 1996, the one from earlier, I'm thinking is even a more earlier, like a 93 or something, the one that I talked about earlier. But I like it. It looks clean in the pictures, but I guess the pictures are telling a different story. I know exactly how Rust feels, so I hope that you find a good donor car. Last but not least, we have a message from Nash. Nash says, hey, first up, love the channel. Thank you. Today I present to you two cars that probably aren't considered different or rare, but here in Tasmania they kind of are. First up is my 1994 1.8 BPZE Mazda MX-5 that I got from Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, the mainland, which I got for $5,000, which was the cheapest 1.8 MX-5 in Australia. It was crashed by the previous owner, but I brought it home on a road trip with my dad and got it registered. Not that interesting, but over here they are considered somewhat rare, and I thought it might be fun to share. The second car I'm showing you is actually my first car. It's a 1991 Toyota Surf, which is a JDM 4Runner, with a 2.4-liter turbo diesel and 5-speed manual. Not super rare here, but enough that it's interesting. My brother always said that not many 16-year-olds have a turbo JDM manual rear-wheel drive car with a sunroof for their first car. He said that standing next to his Toyota Chaser. I'd love to meet you one day and let you travel our great island and drive my slow boys, but I don't see you traveling to Australia, let alone Tasmania, in the near future. I also have friends with a lot of AUD cars I'm sure you could drive. So let's talk about the Miata real quick here. It's a Miata. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. And the fact that it's kind of rare is cool. I love how you're saying, like, you know, it's not that rare. You have it parked next to an S15. I've never seen an S15 in my whole life in person. Now getting on to the Toyota Surf. This is super cool. Did not know this existed. And I think it's kind of funny that you say AUD, like Australian. I assume that means like Australian domestic market. Because like in my head, it's JDM or USDM. That's it. That's all that exists. Super, super cool. 2.4 liter turbo diesel in a manual, in a four-wheel drive vehicle. This is all so weird and so cool to me. This is really, really cool. I love this. I mean, a Surf. It's a Helix Surf. A Toyota Surf? What? That... I had no idea that this even existed. And so if I ever make it to Australia, I promise you I will make a day trip or however long trip it takes to come down to Tasmania and film these cars. This is super, super cool. I mean, a turbo diesel SUV, this really does blow my mind. I've never even heard of this. I didn't know that this existed. And that is just something that's so, 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 so cool to me. So thank you very, very much, Nash. Your information has been written down. If I ever do a trip down under, you will be getting a message. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will have another one of these next Friday at 2 p.m. Central, so keep the emails coming. Nash, if you want to have your friends email me their cars, by all means, the email is down at the bottom of the screen. Like I said, if you haven't seen your car in a video yet, it is coming. I still have plenty of cars to go through. I still have a lot of... Oh, God, I keep looking at it. I still have a lot of cars to go. So if you didn't see your car, it's coming next week. And if not, week after that. Again, the email down at the bottom of the screen. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to everyone who has submitted cars or who is going to submit cars. I love seeing these. And I think it's just really cool to connect with the community and all of that jazz. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you would like to. Take care, guys. Aside from my soul.